is apparently dropping out of the race. Have you guys seen? Is she endorsing anybody? That thought was maybe Bernie, but now there's talk maybe Biden.
I don't think there's been an announcement yet on that front. Um, I just want to point out who here had Tulsi Gabbard in the top three.
Tulsi
Okay,
Gabbard probably
not
did. She
top
probably saw
three.
this.
Being one of the last three to be here does not mean you're in the quote top three.
I almost guarantee she will not be on the debate stage at the next debate.
Tulsi Media blackout.
Yeah, I mean she did get delegates, so there's that
From American Samoa,
from
which
America.
Michael Bloomberg
Hey,
won.
it's part of America. It's part of America.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But when the winner doesn't survive it, it's hard to argue the second place winner is that
Michael
great.
Bloomberg will always have American Samoa. He should buy a T-shirt. I spent $400 million, and all I got was America Samoa.
He could probably buy American Samoa. The guy's just got a ton of money. But anyway, what we're looking at here is the map and is the reason that Elizabeth Warren will be departing the campaign shortly. This was pretty clearly a two-person race. And really, it was just a one-person race. That the lighter blue there is Joe Biden, who 10 days before this had pretty much been left for politically dead. A guy who couldn't do well in places like Iowa or New Hampshire, goes to South Carolina 2 days before this, and voila, this map. What do you guys make of it? I mean, have any of you seen a comeback like this?
I mean, I think this is pretty unbelievable. I think, especially in, yes, we were sort of expecting in, say, Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, that maybe Biden would do pretty well there. North Carolina, especially off the heels of South Carolina, might have been a place that we were expecting Biden to do well. But I think some of the huge surprises were especially Minnesota, Massachusetts, Maine. Massachusetts going into Super Tuesday, I think all of the commentary was just surrounding, well, is Bernie Sanders going to take Elizabeth Warren's home state? And most of the commentary and conventional wisdom said it was a two-person race there between Warren and Sanders. And then when we wake up Wednesday morning, we find that Joe Biden was the winner of this state, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I think everybody was a little bit surprised. Decision Desk HQ, we were pretty much the first to call it for Joe Biden. And I was pretty surprised that we were making that call, just because nobody expected it.
I mean, I think the breakneck moment very early on was Massachusetts polls close and the exits say that it's too close to call Massachusetts. That's expected. It's too close to call between Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. I think that was the what's going on here.
Yeah, and if
moment.
we could click on Massachusetts, I think it is notable though. Going into it, we were looking at the western part of the state. Because as Bernie was hitting the campaign trail in Massachusetts, there was definitely an effort to campaign in the western part of the state to try and distribute geographically his support, so he could run up the delegate count a little bit against Elizabeth Warren. And it is notable that he did win those two counties there, Franklin and Hampshire counties in the western part, which I do think is a little bit notable. Especially, I mean, this was a three-person race, and yeah, he eked out in those two places, but I'm just surprised that that map doesn't have any Elizabeth Warren victories at the county level.
And that's why we're seeing the breaking news today of her dropping out. I mean, it was a narrow path. If she, as you said, we were going into this, we think, well, Warren needs to win this to then do what? But to come in third in her home state is obviously, a death blow to any campaign. When we go back to that national map, I mean, one of the things we always talk about is, well, who are the voters that are driving this? And I think you look at this map, and when you look at Biden, you have to say all of them, right? I mean, it's hard to have that geographical distribution and not say you are sort of a full spectrum candidate, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. And yeah, looking just all across the map, there was just consolidation in the last few days.
I would be interested in knowing what would have happened in maybe Utah and Colorado had most of their votes not come pre South Carolina. If they had, a in-person election day voting as the majority of their voting, what would have happened there?
Well, in both of those places, Elizabeth Warren was in fourth and Michael Bloomberg was in third.
Yeah.
So people who are still actively in the campaign. But are you saying that, like, in a case like Utah, where Mayor Pete came in fifth with just under 10% of the vote, kind of curious to see where that would have gone?
So they're still voting. Or I'm sorry, they're not still voting. They are still counting.
Yeah.
In both Colorado and Utah. And so we have not seen sort of the last batch of mail-in votes there yet. It seems like what happened across the board is, Bloomberg collapsed in the last few days, and Biden, was the beneficiary of that. And so if Utah didn't have all of these banked-in votes, where Bloomberg is above 15%, and if Colorado didn't, I would just be curious to see, if Biden would have been able to even pull off those two. And looking ahead at the next batch of states, right now our model has Bernie favored in Washington and Idaho. The model has Joe Biden favored in North Dakota, which, a few days ago, if you had said, model has Joe Biden favored in North Dakota, I would have told you to rerun the model.
Yeah, well, save the spoilers of the third segment, Al Dodson. No, that is absolutely an astounding feat from Biden. If you're Sanders, can you take anything from this map? To me, it's just like South Carolina writ large. It's like, no, there's no other story. That's it. Thanks for playing.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I did think it was interesting, his press conference yesterday, while he was trying to spin it positively, and I think the biggest message that the Sanders campaign is trying to say is, well, we just need to wait for all of California to come in, because that's really his opportunity to tighten the delegate math a little bit. And then he was also he was talking about how he was doing well among Hispanic voters. So the exit polls did indicate that he was doing well among Hispanic voters. And at the risk of committing the ecological fallacy, if we could click Texas, for example, if we look at a lot of the border counties, click. So then if we look at the border counties, for example, El Paso, where there are large Hispanic populations, especially among the Democratic electorate, these are places where Bernie did do pretty well. However, I don't see where this is going to come out again on the map. And so there were some small, I guess what we'll call moral victories for the Sanders campaign on Super Tuesday, and maybe some subsets of the electorate where he did do well, but I don't really see where this is going to translate into victories in the future.